Hi, my name is Emily Buckley. I am a geriatric FPR working in University Hospital Waterford, and today I'm talking to Professor John Cook about a new simulation competition, SimStars.
Hi, Emily. Thank you very much.
Hi.
I'm one of the NDTP leads here for the South-Southwest Hospital Group, so delighted to be telling you about this competition.
Great. So SimStars, what is it?
So it's a competition whereby we want all doctors in the South-Southwest Hospital Group, regardless of whether they're in training posts or not, to consider entering the competition to design a simulation scenario. The competition is interdisciplinary, so your team must include somebody who is not a doctor, so that can be a nurse, a therapist, a pharmacist, a social worker, anybody that you can think of really who comes from outside of the discipline of medicine. The scenario that you design will need to be reasonably low fidelity, so you're not going to be designing this for delivery inside in a high-tech simulation laboratory. Instead, we want it to be something that can be delivered on the wards, in tutorial rooms, that kind of thing, using equipment that will be available in all hospitals across the group.
Okay, sounds fun. Tell me, I've never done in situ simulation training before. Does that matter?
No, not at all. In fact, that's kind of the whole purpose of the competition. So the HSE are spending quite a lot of money this year and next year to deliver simulation training in a much greater scale across all of the hospitals in Ireland than has ever been the case before. And this is kind of a recognition of the fact that training environments have changed post-COVID. I suppose one of the things that we would like to do in order to make the most out of this investment is to have people with a much greater understanding of what's involved in simulation, how to design simulation scenarios, how to get the best out of simulation scenarios, how to give feedback to people who've been involved in simulation scenarios. So the purpose of the competition is to bring people in and to coach them and to have them come out the other side of the competition, regardless of whether they win, lose or draw, with a much better understanding of simulation, so that they can get the most out of it going forward and that we can get the most out of the money that we're putting into it.
Okay. And tell me, so I'm a registrar in geriatric medicine. Would I have to simulate a competition in that, or?
No, you can simulate anything really that sort of piques your interest. I mean, I would recommend obviously that people would choose something that genuinely interests them, and maybe that's going to challenge them a little bit. What we are going to specify is that you must identify a consultant mentor. They won't be part of your team per se, but they will offer you guidance. They may not know very much more about simulation as a modality than you will, but what they will know is they'll be experts on whatever topic it is that you've chosen. So you need to align yourself with a consultant who would be legitimately considered an expert in the area that you wish to simulate.
Okay. And this simulation scenario, is there a time limit on that, or does it have to be kind of within 10 minutes or so?
Yeah, I mean, most simulation scenarios are going to be reasonably brief. We haven't specified a clear limit on it. In many ways, the simulation scenario is going to take as long as it takes. And that will be part of the design process. I suppose within simulation, there is the ability to fast forward time in a way that you can't do in real life. So, you know, if you're simulating, for example, a stroke, you don't have to wait 25 minutes or so that it takes to wheel the person down to the scanner and get results back. You can pretty much fast forward to that sort of delivery of the results and scans and things, so that the person can move through the scenario a little bit more briskly than they might be expected to do in real life.
Okay. And I suppose that's the case. I know you mentioned it's low fidelity, but can I use whatever props I want within reason?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose when you're choosing props for it, what you want to choose props that are going to be available in all of the hospitals. Because ideally with time, you know, if people have put a lot of effort into designing these scenarios, we would like to make them available to trainees across the hospital group. And what we want a situation whereby, regardless of which hospital you're in, you can get the same value out of that scenario as anybody else. So, you know, in reality, the sorts of resources and props and things you're going to be using are going to be things like scans, blood test results, that sort of thing. I have heard stories of people who are sort of good at DIY and things, making, you know, simulation scenarios from materials and trainers from materials in order to simulate a particular skill. But again, we wouldn't be accepting any cases that require a piece of equipment that's going to cost thousands, because we just aren't going to be able to have that in every hospital this July.
Okay, sounds really good. How do I go about entering?
It's straightforward. The email address is on the literature that we are circulating. We simply want people to email us and indicate that they're interested. We have a very brief form where we're in a structured way going to ask them to summarize what it is that they hope to simulate. Now, that does not need to be a very you know, it doesn't have to be terribly detailed. It simply describes for us what it is that you have an ambition to achieve and puts that together in a structured way. That comes through to us before the 26th of March. You'll get a little bit of feedback at that point from the judging panel as to whether you're heading in the right direction or not, or whether you maybe need to tweak something. You'll then avail of 3 workshops across the course of the month of April. The workshops will look at different elements of how to design and get the most out of a simulation scenario, and hopefully those workshops will help you to tweak your own scenario. And then you'll submit a final detailed scenario in early May. We'll then shortlist 5 cases to go ahead to a final. The format for that will be that those 5 cases those teams will be asked to essentially run their scenario with their target group. So whatever the group was that they were targeting with the simulation scenario, they'll be asked to do it with that group. And they will also be asked to evaluate the learner's experience of the scenario. And then their results and their pilot will be presented at the final. And that's where we decide who's going to win.
Okay, and you mentioned final and winners there. What are the prizes?
So the prizes are good. We do really value the time that people are going to put into this, so we've invested in getting good prizes. So the first prize, each team member of the winning team will get a laptop. So a Surface Pro, obviously that's intended to help with their training going forward. The second place team will get a smartwatch for running and sort of well-being purposes. And then the third place team will get a pair of Bose in-ear headphones, again for running and keeping people fit and healthy and that kind of thing.
Excellent. Sounds really good.
And your consultant mentor will also get a Fitbit if you win. There's only one prize for the consultants, though. Only the winning team gets that.
Fair enough. Great. That all sounds really good. Is there anything else you'd like to mention before we finish up?
No, other than, I do think that a lot of time, effort, and energy has been put in the background around trying to build a simulation strategy for all of the hospitals in the South-Southwest Hospital Group. This is, a way for us to try and get visibility around simulation, and it genuinely is a way for people to learn about simulation as a way to teach. So I would really encourage people to go for it. I think there's a lot in it for people who do decide to engage. I do think there's also value for the sort of the dreaded CV. I do think that it's a really good career development opportunity, and it's a really positive thing to be able to talk about when you're attending for interview and that kind of thing. So I think there are lots of reasons, quite apart from the prizes, that should be an incentive for people to join this competition.
I for one think it's an excellent idea, and I'm sure those people will join up. Thank you very much, Professor Cook.
Okay, thank you, Emily.